Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Shatter Read. Today I'll be doing my book haul for the month of November. So this month has been a very busy month in terms of books. I have a lot of books to share with you guys. I also purchased a ton of books, I want to say end of October, that all arrived in the beginning of November. The first book that I want to share with you guys is Shatter the Sky by Rebecca Kim Wells. I'm also not going to go too much into detail about all of these books because I think that would take forever. And plus, honestly, some of these books I don't really know too much about because they were sent unsolicited. But anyways, this is the first book that I got. This is the book that I purchased. Honestly, I had just been eyeing this book for a while now since it came out. I want to say sometime in the summer-ish, something like that. And all I know is that it's a YA fantasy with dragons in it. And you guys all know that I love my mythical creatures. So anything with dragons in it, I'm usually very excited to pick it up and don't really care too much about the other plots. As long as there's dragons, as long as there's mythical creatures, I'm usually sold for it. And so that's really all I know about this book. Anyways, the next book that I got is also one that I purchased. The first few are all ones I purchased. Yeah. So the next book that I got is The Bookworm Crush by Lisa Brown Roberts. This one I just saw how adorable this was, and it's supposed to be a contemporary romance, and for some reason I'm just in the mood for that these days, so I was really sold on this book. And the fact that this book has to do with a romance involving a bookworm, and I'm like, yes please. So I'm pretty excited for this book, and I've heard so many cute things about this book, so I'm very excited. Then the next book that I got was also one that I purchased, and that is Sea Witch Rising by Sarah Henning. This is the sequel to The Sea Witch, which I haven't actually read yet, but I've heard really good things about this series in general, so I was not really hesitant to pick this up. But this is basically a retelling, I want to say, of The Little Mermaid. But it's not really on The Little Mermaid, it's more focused on the Sea Witch. So either way though, I'm actually really excited for this series and do hope to pick this up soon. Then the next book that came in the mail is actually a book that I won from a giveaway, and that is Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiffwater. I'm actually really excited for this book because it's about Ronan, and Ronan is my favorite character in the Raven Boys Cycle series. I actually did a whole reading vlog on that series, so I'll link that above in case you want to check that out. But out of the entire characters, Ronan was my favorite, and this book really focuses on Ronan, and I am really excited for that. And honestly, that's really all I know about this book. I just knew that it was by Maggie Stiffwater and it's about Ronan, and I was like, yes please. Okay, then the next few books that I got were actually from Target. They had a huge steal recently, like buy two get one free, and of course I was like, I am in it to win it. So I bought 6 books because why not? So the first book that I got is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I think that's how I pronounce his last name. It's an adult fantasy novel. I haven't actually heard too much about this book in general, but one of my booktubers that I watch a lot recommended this book recently, or somewhat recently, so it has been on my radar ever since. And all I know is that it's an adult fantasy, like I said already, and it's about mercenaries. And I do think that I need to read more adult fantasies. I feel like I haven't read too many recently, so I'm very excited for this one. But the next book I got is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal. This is book 1 of, I'm not sure what the series, oh, it's called A Lady Astronaut Novel. And I've honestly heard so many good things about this book. It's sci-fi, it's set in space, or like something to do with space, something to do with like astronauts obviously. And I've heard so many amazing things about this book that I was like, I have to. Also because I haven't really read too many sci-fi novels recently either, so I was kind of like, I need to add another one to my collection. The next book that I got from the same Target deal is Salmon Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. I believe actually Melanie was the one who suggested this in one of her videos, and so I was actually really intrigued after watching that video. So I figured why not take a chance and pick this up since there was a deal going on. But this series is called the Books of Babel, and I want to say this is kind of supposed to be like a reference towards the Tower of Babel in the Bible. So I'm kind of intrigued with how this book will portray that. I mean, I'm not even sure, to be honest, if this book is actually supposed to be inspired by the Tower of Babel in the Bible, but if that is the case, I'm super intrigued by how this will pan out. But I do know it has something to do with the Tower of Babel. I just don't know if it's inspired by the one in the Bible. That's kind of what I'm trying to say here. But regardless though, Melanie really enjoyed it. Like, I'm pretty sure it's Melanie. Like, watch me be completely wrong and it's not Melanie. But either way though, one of my booktubers really enjoyed it and I was really excited for it. Okay, then this next book, also from the Target deal, is one that I finally have the final book now, and so I can finally binge read this entire series, and that is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. When this book came out last year, oh my god, like I literally was having huge FOMO, but I didn't want to pick this up yet because I knew that I probably wouldn't get around to reading the series anyways until the paperback comes out. And now the paperback comes out, so I should probably get on with it as soon as possible. But for those who don't know, this is book 3 in the Dark Artifice series that is also set in the Shadowhunter world. And that's kind of all I know. It follows up other characters that were side characters in some of the previous books. So I'm really intrigued by how this story, and I've heard that this series, like this spin-off series, is actually one of the best ones yet, and I'm really excited to see if this will live up to its hype. Then the next book I got is Faker by Sarah Smith. This is another contemporary novel, and this sounds so cute. All I know is about this woman. Her name is Emmy, and she's only one of the few like female employees in Nuts and Bolts, which is like a power tool company that's predominantly male. And somehow there's a guy who works with her. His name is Tate Rasmussen. I hope that's how I pronounce his last name. And somehow they don't get along. And of course they end up like falling in love, and so there's like this enemies to lovers trope. But I don't know if they're really enemies, but either way though, it's definitely some sort of trope going on there, and it sounds really adorable. Then the next book that I got is, I'm not actually sure if I purchased this. I think I purchased this. I just don't remember where I purchased this from. But either way though, this is Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. This has been on my radar ever since I saw some of my other booktubers were talking about books that they were really anticipating in terms of contemporary books, and this was one of them. So all I know about this book is that it follows a girl called Piper, who I guess is now a successful businesswoman, but she somehow bumps into a new security guard who happens to be the first love of her life. And so I guess what happens is that he apparently doesn't remember her at all, and apparently her crush with this guy was not over. And so this book just sounds really cute. I feel like most contemporary romances for the most part kind of are pretty linear, and so I kind of expect this book to go one way, so I don't know, but it's the journey that matters for me, guys. So I'm really excited to see how this will pan out and if the romance is as cute as I anticipate. Then the next book that I got is actually a pre-order. I don't really pre-order that many books, but this one I had to pre-order. I mean, I don't know why I had to, but anyways, that is The Starless Seat by Erin Morgenstern. The reason why I said I didn't know why I had to is because I actually haven't read her first book, which is The Night Circus, and so I wasn't really up to the hype in terms of like, oh my god, I love The Night Circus, I have to read her second book. So I wasn't part of that hype, but I've heard so many good things about it that I feel like I was part of it, even though I never actually read the first book. So of course I was like, I had to pre-order this. Did I really though? No, I didn't really have to pre-order it, but I wanted to. But the cover looks stunning. Anyways, I'm pretty excited for this one. I don't really know what this book is about, to be honest, but it's an Erin Morgenstern, and I feel like her book have gotten a lot of accolades recently and praise, so I'm excited regardless. Then the next book I got actually came out with publisher, and that is Upon the Flight of the Queen by Howard Andrew Jones. I believe this is book 2 of the Ringsworn trilogy. I did also receive book 1 from the publisher maybe like a year ago, I want to say at this point, and I haven't actually had a chance to pick it up yet, but they so kindly sent me the sequel, and this also came unsolicited. I don't actually really know what the series is about. I just know it has something to do with like an epic high fantasy novel, and I want to say it's young adult, but I might even be wrong there. Either way though, fantasy books are up my alley, so I am definitely intrigued by this book. Then the next 3 books I got were actually from Book of the Month, which I am so excited. I finally got Book of the Month this time around. I've been skipping for the past few months because I haven't been so thrilled with some of the picks they were having, and there's only one book that I really wanted, and I waited and waited until I finally have 3. So the first book here is Well Met by Jane DeLuca. This book has been talked about so much. A lot of my really good friends really enjoyed it, and so I was like, I really want to pick it up too, but I saw in Book of the Month and it just made more sense for me to wait than for me to purchase it separately. So I finally got it, guys. All I know is that's when they do like a Renaissance fair, and these 2 characters don't like each other whatsoever, but apparently the characters, when they were doing the Renaissance fair, I want to say, they fall in love. So there's a whole thing about how their characters are in love with each other, but in reality they don't like each other, so there's supposed to be a romance there as well, and it sounds so fascinating to me. Then my next Book of the Month pick is This Tender Land by William Kent Kruger. I actually wasn't sure if I want to pick up this book, but I've heard so many positive reviews about this book that I was like, I'm intrigued now. All I know is a historical fiction set in the 1930s in Minnesota, and it also has something to do with Native Americans and running away from a crime. Like, I don't know what that crime is, but some sort of terrible crime that they committed. So it's about these 4 orphans who journey into the unknown, crossing paths with others who are adrift from struggling farmers and traveling faith healers to displaced families and lost souls of all kinds. I mean, this book definitely has some sort of journey, historical element to it, which is usually my jam, so I'm definitely intrigued. Then the third and final book that I got from Book of the Month is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This book has been on my radar ever since I keep seeing it everywhere, but it's also supposed to be a cute contemporary romance novel. And the thing is, this book just sounds so entertaining because it follows a girl, her name is Chloe, and apparently she has like 7 things that she wants to do in her life, like kind of like a bucket list items. And one of the items on her list is to do something bad. So she decides to have someone teach her, and she finds a guy. His name is Red Morgan, and he is apparently a handyman with tattoos, a motorcycle, and more sex appeal than 10,000 Hollywood heartthrobs. So apparently, I guess she asked him for help, and clearly a romance will ensue, and this book just sounds so exciting for me. Then the next book that I got is actually from a publisher, and that is A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozloff. This one I did request, and I'm actually kind of intrigued by this book because it's supposed to be a whole fantasy series, like 4 books in 4 months. I've literally never heard of a fantasy series coming out that quickly before, so I was honestly so intrigued by that. But anyways, this is a fantasy series that's supposed to be kind of similar or along the same veins, so basically fans of Naomi Novik's Uprooted book will really enjoy. And I haven't actually read her Uprooted book yet, but I love Spinning Silver, so I feel like I too will also really enjoy this series. And this book basically follows a woman. Her name is Cerulia. I might be pronouncing her name wrong, but she is orphaned, she's exiled, and she somehow must master the magic that is her birthright, as well as become the queen that she is destined to be. So I'm really curious about this book for sure, as well as the fact that this whole series is coming out in 4 months. That means if this book is amazing, I don't have to wait that long to read the entire series. How awesome is that? Then the next book that I got is also from a publisher. This one came unsolicited, and that is Witch Light by Jessie Zabarsky. I don't really know what this book is about, something to do with witches, but it is an arc that comes out on April 14th, 2020, and the graphic does look very adorable, so I am really liking that. But other than the fact that it has something to do with witches, I don't really know too much about this book. Then I got 2 books for Book of the Month YA. For those who don't know already, I am an affiliate for them, so if you sign up using my link down below, I believe you get the first book or first box for only $9.99, which is a really good deal for a newly released hardcover book. So if you are planning already to sign up for Book of the Month YA, please do consider using my link down below because I do get a little something out of it. But anyways, the 2 books that I got for Book of the Month YA for November is I Have No Secrets by Penny Jolson. So this book just sounds really fascinating because it's supposed to be about a girl called Jenny who knows who the murderer is. But the thing is, she cannot speak or communicate in any sort of way until one day there's some sort of technology where now she can actually express herself. So now it is a race against time while she tries to figure out how to communicate while also trying to stay safe because the killer is now going to be after her. So this book just sounds really intense, very fast paced, very high stakes, and I am excited for it. Then my next Book of the Month YA pick was the Guinevere, as I pronounce it, Deception by Kirsten White. I really enjoyed her books in the past, so I have pretty high hopes for this one as well. All I know about this book is that something to do with King Arthur and Guinevere, which is one of my favorite legends. Like Arthurian legend is one of my favorites, so I saw that this would be like a YA like retelling inspired by, and I was so excited for it. The next book that I got is also from a publisher. This one came unsolicited, and that is Black Leviathan by Burned Purplies. Gosh, I definitely feel like I butchered that name. I am so sorry. But this is another epic fantasy novel with dragons in it, which, as you guys all know, I love dragons. So I was actually really excited they sent this to me unsolicited because this seems like a book that I would have requested regardless. So I'm actually pretty excited. And this is supposed to be a world of dragon hunters in an epic revenge fantasy. So I'm really curious as to what the revenge is. Is it like dragon hunters hunting down dragons? Or is it like something else? But I'm assuming that's the case. Either way though, there's dragons in it, guys, so very thorough. Then the next book that I got came in this very beautiful box, and that is The God Game by Danny Toby. This is also an arc that comes out on January 7th, 2020, and this one came unsolicited, so I don't really know too much in terms of what this book is about, but it says over here, you're invited, come inside and play with GOD, bring your friends, it's fun. But remember the rules, win and all your dreams come true. Lose, you die. So this book sounds like a really intense book, and I am here for it. Then the next book that I got also came from a publisher, which I'm actually so excited for because I did request this, and it is this book. It came in this beautiful box, and once you open it, It is The Queen's Assassin by Melissa de la Cruz, and this is an arc that comes out on February 2020. And this book has to do with assassins, which I mean, The Queen's Assassin, pretty self-explanatory there. It follows a guy called Caledon Holt, who is the kingdom's deadliest weapon. Apparently no one can best him in speed, strength, or brains, which is why he is the guild's most dangerous member. He is also the Queen's assassin because he is apparently bound to her by magic and cannot leave her service until the task she set for him is fulfilled. And this book also follows another character. Her name is Shatter, and she is of the Honey Glade, who's been training all her life to join this guild. But she's hoping to become an assassin just as dangerous as Cal, but her mother and her aunts expect her to serve the crown as a lady. Something happens and Shadow and Cal are forced to team up as assassin and apprentice. And apparently along the way they'll discover and uncover a web of lies and secrets that would change their paths forever. So this book sounds so good. I love assassin books. I love books with secrets, and this book sounds perfect for me. The next book that I got is also from a publisher, and that is Belle Reveille. I feel like I definitely butchered that name, by Lindsay Miller, and this is an arc that comes out on February 2020. So this book is a standalone fantasy where two young women must trade lives, work together to stay alive, and end a war caused by magic and greed. I mean, honestly, I saw the cover of this and it looks stunning, and so I was already really intrigued by this book. Then my next book actually came to me as a gift for Christmas already. Yeah, I know, it's like it came in November, but it's actually for my Christmas gift, and I opened it up because I didn't know what it was until I opened it, and that is Supernova by Marissa Meyer. This is book 3 of the Renegade series, which I haven't actually read yet, but I do own books 1 and books 2, and so I was like, I wanted to have this final book to complete my series so I can finally binge read this series. And all I know is that this series has something to do with superheroes and anti-heroes, and I've heard so many good things about this series. I've also heard some mixed reviews, but either way though, I'm really intrigued by this. And plus, either way, I really like Marissa Meyer's books anyways, so this book, this series, her writing seems perfect for me. Also, the heater decided to turn on, so you guys will probably hear that in the background, but anyways, the next book that I got is actually one that I purchased a while back, and that is Eliza Lamora by Scott Lynch. Honestly, this is another adult fantasy, and I've heard a number of my favorite booktubers who read adult fantasy really enjoying this. Like, they've been raving about this non-stop, so I became very curious, and I figured why not just pick it up and give it a try. And this book is kind of giving me some like Robin Hood vibes, mainly because apparently this guy, his name is Lamora, I mean, the title of this book. He is also known as the Thorn of Camor, and apparently he's supposed to be this unbeatable swordsman, a master thief, and a friend to the poor, and a ghost that walks through walls. So that's kind of the reason why I think of him as Robin Hood, because he's like a friend to the poor, a thief. He's stealing from the rich and giving it to the poor. But in reality though, he's not giving to the poor. All the money that he steals is actually for himself and his band of thieves called the Gentleman Bastards. And there's also this whole underworld, clandestine kind of thing going on, and it sounds so intriguing to me. I mean, again, I've heard so many good things about the series, so I am definitely intrigued. But the next book that I got is actually sent to me by a publicity agency, and that is The Skyweaver by Kristen Cizzarelli. I believe this is the third and final book in the Last on the Stars series, which I haven't actually read yet, but now that I have this book, I can finally get to reading the series, which means that this month I got 3 books that will basically complete a whole series for me, so I have a lot of reading to do to actually complete series, which I'm actually pretty excited for. But this one has something to do with dragons, which I am all about. It's a YA fantasy, has dragons in it, and I'm very excited for it. The next book that I got was actually sent to me by one of my Bookstagram friends. Thank you so much for sending this to me, and that is Blood Heir by Emily Wen Zhao. This was a book that has been highly anticipated due to all the controversy that I got when it was supposed to first come out. I want to say like in the spring or something, but I feel like those who have read this book has told me that it was very much exaggerated, it got blown out of proportion, so I wanted to check it out for myself. So she so kindly sent me the updated arc of it, which is this copy here, and this one came out in November 2019, and honestly, I'm just so excited because I like reading Own Voices novel, and it's Asian inspired, which I'm Asian as well, so this book sounds perfect, and it's a fantasy book, so perfect all around. And it says briefly over here, princess of a deadly gift, a con man with no past and no future, an empire spiraling into chaos. It's time to choose a side. I've heard some great things of this book, so I'm very excited. The next book that I got also came from a publisher, and that is The Barts Blade by Brian D. Anderson, and this is an arc that comes out in January 2020. So this book sounds interesting because it follows a young woman called Mariah who enjoys a simple life in Villari, which is a land that's been magically sealed off from the rest of the world. So in this land, Fear, scary things, the unknown is pretty much unheard of until one day a stranger crosses the wards for the first time, I want to say in centuries, and the two of them, the stranger and Mariah, are now faced with this terrible prophecy. And the two of them venture out of this magical land where an ancient evil is returning and its age-old prison shattered. This book sounds really good, guys, so I'm definitely intrigued by it. The next book I got was actually sent to me so kindly by Madison. Thank you so much for sending this to me, and that is Grey Maidens by Kelly Kuhn. So in this book, there is a city, a walled off city, state of Alu, where there's some sort of tradition that when the ruler passes away, he somehow chooses like 3 sacred maidens to join him in the afterlife. It's supposed to be some sort of honor, it's a tradition, etc, etc. And one day, this girl called Kamani, whose beautiful little sister, Nania, I definitely butchered the names, I'm so sorry, is chosen as one of the 3 sacred maidens. And she thinks that this is a great honor, etc. But Kamani, I cannot pronounce her name, I'm so sorry, knows and sees this for what it truly is, and that is a death sentence. And so she's desperate to save her sister, and she schemes her way into the palace. And so the book just kind of follows that adventure where she uncovers all these secrets, dangers, truths, etc. And it sounds so good. I've heard some mixed reviews of this book though, but regardless though, I'm still really intrigued by it. The next 2 books I got were actually my book box for the month of November. The first one is supposed to be the thriller mystery pick, and that is The Last Thing She Told Me by Linda Green. I don't really know too much in terms of what this book is about. All I know is a mystery thriller, and I tried to go into those not knowing too much, so that's all I really want to know going in. It just has something to do with secrets coming into the light. That's all I know. Then for the YA pick this past month, it was Winterwood by Shea Earnshaw. I'm actually kind of excited for this book because, well, I'm like mixed feelings because one, I didn't really like the previous book, The Wicked Deep. I was very underwhelmed by it, but this book I feel like has gotten a lot of better praise for it, so I'm really intrigued by it. But I don't really know too much in terms of what this book is about, but I believe that this still follows the same kind of like beautiful lyrical prose that was in her previous book. So I'm curious, but I don't really know what to expect, guys. The next book that I finally got for this myself, I was like, I need to get this because I want to read this, is The Wall of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 2 of the Mistborn series, which I love. So for those who haven't watched my October books I read video, which I will link somewhere above, I love that book. So I finally got the sequel, so now I can finally get a chance to read this as soon as possible. But anyway, that's all I have to say for this video. Let me know down below if you have received any exciting books this past month, if you purchased any awesome books, which book are you most excited to look forward to in terms of reading. Let me know all that information down below. But as always, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!